This is a Channel 7 special presentation, the debate over bilingual education. And now, your moderator, Dan Ashley.
And good evening. Hope you've enjoyed your Sunday afternoon. I'm Dan Ashley, and on behalf of all of us at Channel 7 News, welcome to tonight's debate on Proposition 227. During the next half hour, we'll be examining both sides of one of the most important and perhaps controversial initiatives on this Tuesday's ballot. Proposition 227, which could end most bilingual education programs in California public schools. This measure, if passed, would impact more than 1.4 million children in California who are not proficient in English. And we certainly hope tonight's discussion will help you make up your mind about how to vote on Tuesday. And joining us now to speak in favor of Prop 227 is Ron Unz. He's the principal author of the initiative and the chairman of the English for the Children campaign. Mr. Unz is also the CEO and chairman of Wall Street Analytics. That's a Palo Alto financial software company. Sitting to his right is Fernando Vega, the regional chairman for Yes on 227, English for the Children. He is a former Redwood City School Board member who helped implement bilingual education in the early 70s. And speaking against Prop 227 is Holli Thier, the statewide spokesperson for Citizens for an Educated America, No on 227. Ms. Thier is a former San Francisco deputy city attorney who comes from a family of educators. And to her left is Shelly Spiegel-Coleman, a member of the Executive Committee for Citizens for an Educated America, No on 227. Now, she is also a consultant to the Los Angeles County Office of Education in English as a second language. Thanks to all of you for joining us tonight. We're glad you're here and looking forward to your views, particularly you, Ms. Spiegel-Coleman. I know your plane just landed, so we're glad you made it. It was a photo finish to the end. Now, before we get to the debate, we want to give you some background information on Proposition 227 and a look at what's at stake. 1 out of every 4 California school children speaks little or no English.
Okay.
And in some schools, the numbers are even more extreme. 90% of the children at Fair Oaks Elementary are classified as limited English speakers. Fair Oaks is one of Redwood City's bilingual schools. In kindergarten, children are taught mostly in Spanish. Then, as they get older, more English is added to the curriculum.
The research that I've looked at, and there's been a lot of it, shows that kids that are thrust into English too early, it's overwhelming. Not only are they trying to learn to read in a language they don't understand, but they're trying to learn the language at the same time. And what happens is by the end of 7th, 8th grade, by the time they get into high school, they're usually 2 years behind their peers.
But not everyone is convinced bilingual education works.
What our initiative is intended to do is reorient California's education system away from bilingual education towards intensive sheltered English immersion to children who don't know English when they start school.
Teach children English by teaching them in English.
Exactly. Teach them English as quickly as possible once they start school.
Under Prop 227, children would get 1 year in sheltered English, where the teacher speaks only English and relies on visual aids, gestures, and hands-on assignments. The children would then be placed in a regular classroom. Critics call it a one-size-fits-all disaster.
Ron Unz's proposal would take all these children and put them in one classroom for 1 year, only a year, sink or swim. If you can't master English in a year, hey, you just move on to your other subjects.
Under the current system we have, children don't learn English properly. Of the quarter of the children in public schools right now in California who don't know English, only about 5 or 6% learn English each year. 95% of the children who start a school year not knowing English end that same school year still not knowing English.
We hope that lays out some of the issues for you. Now let me introduce the two journalists who will be asking the questions. First, we have Rosie Allen, KGO Radio's afternoon drive anchor and co-host of KGO TV's Marketplace. And next to her is Channel 7 news reporter Laura Marquez. Laura specializes in politics for us at Channel 7 News. Nice to have you both with us as well. Now, the rules for tonight's debate are very simple. Each side will have 45 seconds to answer the question, followed by a 45-second rebuttal. And a quick caution to all of you, please pay attention to your time cues. We want to get answers to as many questions as we possibly can, and to that end, I do not want to cut you off, but I will. With that said, the first question will go to the proponents of Prop 227, and let's begin with you, Rosie.
A popular film from last year said, "Show me the money." So let's talk about money. State of California currently spends $400 million a year for limited English-speaking programs and children. If Prop 227 becomes law, it will require the state to spend another $50 million for English classes for adults. Now, that's a total of $450 million. What happens to all of that money? Where is it going to be spent or allocated?
Okay, I guess, okay. That's actually a very good question in terms of the money. Now, the truth is, nobody knows right now how much money is being spent in the state of California on bilingual education programs. It's certainly $400 million coming from the state level, another 50 or 60 million from the federal level, and hundreds of millions of dollars from local school districts going into these programs. It's probably over $1 billion a year. By transitioning children out of these programs much more quickly, by teaching them English quickly rather than keeping them in the program for years, they will be moved out of these programs more quickly. And as the number of students who don't know English falls, hundreds of millions of dollars a year will be saved. And we can spend that on the adult literacy programs, on textbooks, on reduced class size, on all these other things.
All right, Mr. Unz, thanks very much. Now the No 1227 has a chance to rebut. Either of you take the question.
Certainly. The independent state legislative analyst has stated very clearly that Proposition 227 will not save taxpayers one dime. Instead, it's one of the biggest government spending programs we have ever seen. It takes all the money that's in bilingual education today, puts it into Proposition 227. On top of that, appropriates an additional $50 million a year to individuals who pledge to tutor a child in English. The money's going away from schools, away from teaching children English, and it's going to individuals who either can teach children English or not do anything with that money. In addition, it threatens $2.5 billion in federal funding that could be lost due to federal civil rights laws.
All right, Ms. Thier, thanks very much. Laura Marquez, you have the next question to the No folks on 227.
Yes, a study done by a South Bay school district found that it takes 5 years for those individuals who can't speak English to learn to read and write it effectively. Under Proposition 227, it would be a 1-year intensive immersion program. What do you think would happen to those students who cannot speak English after the 180 days of instruction?
Well, we know right now what is going to happen. We have 3 very clear pieces of information as to what happens. In Gloria Mata-Tuckman's classroom, who's the co-author of this bill and the inspiration for this program, last year, after 1 year in her sheltered English immersion program, none of her children met the criteria for being able to work in an all-English program. Now, she's a first-grade teacher. Her children had 2 years, and not one was ready. Alice Callahan's children from the 9th Street School, after 1 year in the English-only program, 74, only 2 were ready. So we know they're not going to be ready for a mainstream program. It's been tested, and it's a failed program.
All right, thank you. Mr. Vega, would you like rebuttal?
Yes. You know, the bilingual education, all statistics, all studies have been done, and the latest ones recently say that bilingual education has failed, and it has failed pathetically. We have a transition rate of only 5%. According to the LA Times, the Los Angeles Times, they did a study, and they concluded that some of the classes in California, in schools in California, some of those classes have not transitioned one student in 2 years. Now, if that isn't a failure, I don't know what is. Right now, the studies that have been made and the statistics show that in California, the Latinos, which are the ones that are in the...
Mr. Vega, you're out of time. You want to wrap it up? I'll give you a couple of seconds.
They have the lowest statistics rate, the lowest high school dropout rate, and most of those come from bilingual education programs.
All right, thank you, sir. Rosie